So our topic for this video would be contemporary realistic fiction. So to start off the topic, let us begin by defining the meaning of this oxymoronic expression. Kuyper 2010 describes realistic fiction as realistic literature containing imaginative writing that accurately reflects life as it was lived in the past or could be lived today. So why is it realistic fiction? Because it contains events that are realistic, that have happened in the past, or events that may possibly happen in the future. And why is it fiction? Because the characters in these stories are fictionalized from the author's head. And why is it contemporary? Because it focuses on the problems and issues of living today. So, and what is the difference between historical fiction and contemporary realistic fiction? Historical fiction are stories written during the 1950s, while contemporary realistic fiction are stories written after 1950s and also meet the definition that was discussed earlier. Next. So for the values of contemporary realistic fiction, first, it provides children a better understanding of the world themselves. Provides children a better understanding of human problems and human relationships, including a greater understanding of themselves and their potential. It also teaches children empathy. It helps children expand their points of view by gaining others' perspectives. By reading a story, the children can experience the events in the books through the different perspectives of the different characters. Next, it reassures young people that they are not the only ones facing problems, since the focus of this type of literature is the problems encountered today. It would help reassure the readers that others are also experiencing the problems that they are reading right now. Fourth, it illuminates experiences that children have not had. So, it contains events that have happened and events that may possibly happen. But that does not mean that it will not happen to the readers. There is a huge possibility that it can also happen to the readers. So, it will help the children experience the events without really experiencing them. So it also helps the children prepare for living. Some books may serve as preparation for living since they contain the problems. The readers can think of ways on how to solve these problems or how to cope with these problems if they ever encounter this in the future. And last, model for coping with human problems. These serve as possible models, may they be good or bad model for coping with human problems. The next slide would be our reliable references.
Now on to sports fiction. So for the first definition, as you can see here, the sports has an impact to the plot or the main character. So if you're going to read a book that is about this topic, the sports fiction, you're going to recognize the connection between the main character and the sports. And every time that you read a book, there's always a strong moral character that the book is going to teach you. But specifically, sports fiction is going to teach you good sportsmanship. The same if you're going to play a game or a sport, it is going to also teach you good sportsmanship. And For example, you're a teacher and you're going to teach sports fiction. Not only your students will learn about sports fiction, but also you, because you are going to analyze what you're going to teach. And the things that you have learned from the piece that you are going to present to your student will also apply to you on how you handle your team. And if speaking of your team is your student, your class, how you handle your class every time you have your session with them. Next, please. Now, the best example that I can present to you is this book, Millicent Min, Girl Genius by Lisa Yi. So this one, a little bit of background. She is a very smart Asian girl who is forced to go to a volleyball league by her mother. She met a student who has the same hatred with in terms of sports. And if you're going to plan on reading this book, and I am going to make you wonder, how is she going to handle the hatred that she has with volleyball, and how is she going to handle her new friendship experience with the girl she met in there. And the next slide is our trustee references.
So for our next discussion is all about the humorous book. So humorous books is a literary tool that makes audiences laugh or that intends to induce the amusement or laughter. It causes a meaningful change in the character in such a way that the reader's enjoyment is primarily related to the way stories are told. And lastly, humor often reveals more about us as a person. Humor is defined in more ways than we might think, and it is more than we might realize ourselves. Next. Next are the characteristics of humorous books. So events can be strange and can make readers laugh, does not leave the readers in suspense. So the best example I can give is The Wayside School is Falling Down by Louis Sachar. The school frequently experiences surreal circumstances such as dead rats that live in the basement, teachers that can transform students into apples, and the word door being declared as a bad word. The style of the books makes heavy usage of wordplay and the literary formats such as the names of the pets in Pet Day and the running gag of the 90th stories. So all in all, humorous books can include elements of text that are funny to many readers, such as irony and puns. It can be combined with other genres such as fantasy, realistic fiction, and etc. And it usually involves characters that act in unique ways to make the readers laugh.
Good day. My name is Najette Salatic, and I'm going to tackle about one of the contemporary realistic fiction, which is the mystery. So first, let's define what is mystery. So it says here, it is a genre of literature whose stories focus on a puzzling crime, situation, or circumstance that needs to be solved. So it is a Latin mysterium meaning a secret thing. So mystery often thought of as a detective story because it involves mysterious death or crime, and the central character must be a detective who eventually solves the crime mystery logically. Mystery can either be fiction, non-fiction, supernatural, or non-supernatural stories. Now we have here the characteristics of mystery. First, to engage in and enjoy solving puzzle. Second, explore moral satisfaction at resolution. Third, consider human condition and how to solve or avoid problems. So, mystery um, create the readers to read on their own for a longer period of time. Due to this, mystery books give them great satisfactions. So the reader read the books on their own and they're capable of solving or exploring the mystery presented. Now I have provided here one of example of mystery, A Simple Plan by Scoot P. Smith. So according to my research, that this story is all about a simple plan. Two brothers come across a crashed plane, and after thorough search, they find amount of money, and all they have to do is come up with a simple plan in order to conceal the fortune. But the plot takes some unexpected turns, and these innocent people end up becoming criminals. So anyone looking for a more realistic to read should definitely go for this novel. So in relation to that, we all know that mystery books are valuable to read. So this develop the readers their logic, critical thinking, and reasoning skills. And this would help them to level up to solve the mystery. And also, for the teachers, they also need to check the level of the students when reading mystery stories that would inspired by their imagination and it should be appropriate for those ages. Now that would be for the mystery. Now we have here the references that is used in this topic.
Next in line is series books. By definition, it is any number of similarly plotted novels. So it means that it is composed of many books, not only one. So that is why it is called series books. Its characteristics is involving the same characters, settings, or genre expectations. Genre expectations mean that if the story starts as a mystery, then it ends or retains itself as a mystery series. The it has two or it can be divided into two categories: static book series and dynamic book series. Static book series can be read in any order. Often, a reader can pick up any book in a static series and be able to follow the story without having to read the previous books. It is longer than dynamic series because static series doesn't have a finale the author is writing towards. So for the dynamic book series, it have an overarching storyline. So this means that it follows the same character or group throughout the series as they try to accomplish a large goal. So each individual books are not standalones. It needs to be read in order for the story to make sense. So a good example and a popular example of book series is by J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. So Harry Potter involves numerous books that are interconnected, as you can see here from the image below. The main story arc between each novel concerns Harry's struggle against Lord Voldemort. Specifically, it is a dynamic book series since it must be read in an order for the reader to understand the whole story. So, the relevance of book series in teaching is that it encourages more reading. When the student finds a book that they like, they want to immediately read all the books in that series. Additionally, it develops more activities around that book series. For example, if the students loved the Hunger Games, they can go camping and explore survival skills together and take them to the movie. Another relevance would be comprehension and confidence. So this means that students have more comprehension support in book series. Each new book in the series follows and builds on the first, making it easier for students' comprehension. So here is my reference online.
So lastly, the romance novel. So romances are centered on tales of love and adventure. Through these stories, characters may face challenges, quests, or battles in order to be with the one they love. So with this, the characters might first face challenges before they become with their loved one. So the characteristics are a sympathetic heroine. So the heroine is the key to romance because women are the biggest readers. We need to be able to identify in some ways with the heroine. So next is a strong, irresistible hero. In here, your heroine and your reader must both fall in love with the hero. Strong but not overbearing, not abusive, vulnerable enough to need the heroine. So next one is the emotional tension. So this is the heart of every romance wherein the hero and the heroine can be together even though they want to be with each other. So lastly is the happy ever after ending wherein it will be never be actually gone because happiness and love are part of romance. So next slide please. So an example of this is the beauty Beauty and the Beast, wherein it's all about the arrogant young prince who turned into a beast, and until he turned until he until he turned into the beast. So the relevance of this is to encourage the learners to read more. So next slide is our references.
So, to encapsulate contemporary realistic fiction, these are stories with different types that were discussed earlier. The events in the stories are realistic but with fictionalized characters. These stories are also valuable to the readers, especially to the younger ones. And that is all for contemporary realistic fiction.